We are in Ezekiel chapters 19, 20, 21 in the contemporary English version. Chapter 19 starts with it's a lament, it's sorrowful, it's sad state of affairs that Ezekiel is having to deal with when he talks with Israel. So let's just go ahead and get to it and see what is happening. Ezekiel chapter 19. Ezekiel, sing a song for two of Israel's leaders. Your mother was a brave lioness who raised her cubs among lions. She taught one of them to hunt, and he learned to eat people. When the nations heard of him, they trapped him in a pit, and then they used hooks to drag him to Egypt. His mother wailed for him to return, but soon she lost all hope and raised another cub, who also became fierce. He hunted with other lions and learned to eat people. He destroyed fortresses and ruined towns. His mighty roar terrified everyone. Nations plotted to kill him, and people came from all over to spread out a net and catch him in a trap. They put him in a cage and took him to Babylonia. The lion was locked away so that his mighty roar would never again be heard on Israel's hills. Your mother was a vine like you, growing near a stream. There was plenty of water, so she was filled with branches and with lots of fruit. Her strong branches became symbols of authority, and she was taller than all the other trees. Everyone could see how strong and healthy she was. But in anger, I pulled her up by the roots and threw her to the ground, where the scorching desert wind dried out her fruit. Her strong branches wilted and burned up. Then she was planted in a hot, dry desert, where her stem caught fire, and flames burned her branches and fruit. Not one strong branch is left. She is stripped bare. The funeral song must be sung with sorrow. 7 years after King Jehoiakim and the rest of us had been led away as prisoners to Babylonia, some of Israel's leaders came to me on the 10th day of the 5th month. They sat down and asked for a message from the Lord. Just then the Lord God said, Ezekiel, son of man, these leaders have come to find out what I want them to do. As surely as I live, I will not give them an answer of any kind. Are you willing to warn them, Ezekiel? Then remind them of the disgusting sins of their ancestors. Tell them that long ago I, the Lord God, chose Israel to be my own. I appeared to their ancestors in Egypt and made a solemn promise that I would be their God and the God of their descendants. I swore that I would rescue them from Egypt and lead them to a land I had already chosen. This land was rich with milk and honey and was the most splendid land of all. I told them to get rid of their disgusting idols and not to sin by worshiping the gods of Egypt. I reminded them that I was the Lord their God, but they still rebelled against me. They refused to listen and kept on worshiping their idols and foreign gods. In my anger, I decided to punish the Israelites in Egypt, but that would have made me look like a liar, because I had already promised in front of everyone that I would lead them out of Egypt. So I brought them out and led them into the desert. I gave them my laws and teachings so they would know how to live right, and I commanded them to respect the Sabbath as a way of showing that they were holy and belonged to me. But the Israelites rebelled against me in the desert. They refused to obey my laws and teachings, and they treated the Sabbath like any other day. Then in my anger, I decided to destroy the Israelites in the desert once and for all. But that would have disgraced me, because many other nations had seen me bring the Israelites out of Egypt. Instead, I told them in the desert that I would not lead them into the beautiful, fertile land I had promised. I said this because they had not only ignored my laws and teachings, but had disgraced my Sabbath and worshipped idols. Yet I felt sorry for them and could not let them die in the desert. So I warned the children not to act like their parents or follow their evil ways or worship their idols. I reminded them that I was the Lord their God and that they should obey my laws and teachings. I told them to respect my Sabbath, to show that they were my people and that I was the Lord their God. But the children also rebelled against me. They refused to obey my laws and teachings, and they treated the Sabbath as any other day. I became angry and decided to punish them in the desert. But I did not. That would have disgraced me in front of the nations that had seen me bring the Israelites out of Egypt. So I solemnly swore that I would scatter the people of Israel across the nations because they had disobeyed my laws and ignored my teachings. They had disgraced my Sabbath and worshiped the idols their ancestors had made. I gave them laws that bring punishment instead of life, and I let them offer me unacceptable sacrifices, including their firstborn sons. I did this to horrify them and to let them know that I, the Lord, was punishing them. Ezekiel, tell the people of Israel that their ancestors also rejected and insulted me by offering sacrifices, incense, and wine to gods on every hill and under every large tree. I was very angry because they did these things in the land I had given them. I asked them where they went to worship those gods, and they answered, at the local shrines. And those places of worship are still called shrines. Then ask the Israelites why they are following the example of their wicked ancestors by worshiping idols and by sacrificing their own children as offerings. They commit these sins and still think they can ask me for a message. As surely as I am the living Lord God, I give them no answer. They may think they can be like other nations and get away with worshiping idols made of wood and stone, but that will never happen. As surely as I am the living Lord God, I will rule over you with my powerful arm. You will feel my fierce anger and my power. When I gather you from the places where you are scattered and lead you into a desert surrounded by nations, I will meet you there face to face. Then I will pass judgment on you and punish you, just as I punished your ancestors in the desert near Egypt. I will force each of you to obey the regulations of our solemn agreement. I will separate the sinful rebels from the rest of you, and even though I will bring them from the nations where they live in exile, they won't be allowed to return to Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Go ahead and worship your idols for now, you Israelites, because soon I will no longer let you dishonor me by offering gifts to them. You will have no choice but to obey me. When that day comes, everyone in Israel will worship me on Mount Zion, my holy mountain in Jerusalem. I will once again call you my own, and I will accept your sacred offerings and sacrifices. When I bring you home from the places where you are now scattered, I will be pleased with you, just as I am pleased with the smell of the smoke from your sacrifices. Every nation on earth will see that I am holy, and you will know that I, the Lord, am the one who brought you back to Israel, the land I promised your ancestors. Then you will remember your wicked sins, and you will hate yourselves for doing such horrible things. They have made you unacceptable to me, so you deserve to be punished. But I will treat you in a way that will bring honor to my name, and you will know that I am the Lord God. The Lord said, Ezekiel, son of man, turn toward the south and warn the forest that I, the Lord God, will start a fire that will burn up every tree, whether green or dry. Nothing will be able to put out the blaze of that fire as it spreads to the north and burns everything in its path. Everyone will know that I started it and that it cannot be stopped. But I complained, Lord God, I don't want to do that. People already say I confuse them with my messages. The Lord said, Ezekiel, son of man, condemn the places in Jerusalem where people worship. Warn everyone in Israel that I am about to punish them. I will pull out my sword and have it ready to kill everyone, whether good or evil, from south to north. People will die, knowing that my sword will never be put away. Ezekiel, groan in sorrow and despair so that everyone can hear you. When they ask why you are groaning, tell them you have terrifying news that will make them faint and tremble in fear and lose all courage. These things will happen soon. I, the Lord God, make this promise. The Lord said, Ezekiel, son of man, tell the people of Jerusalem, I have sharpened my sword to slaughter you. It is shiny and will flash like lightning. Don't celebrate. Punishment is coming because everyone has ignored my warnings. My sword has been polished. It's sharp and ready to kill. Groan in sorrow, Ezekiel. The sword is drawn against my people and their leaders. They will die. So give up all hope. I am testing my people that they can do nothing to stop me. I, the Lord, have spoken. Ezekiel, warn my people Then celebrate my victory by clapping your hands. My vicious sword will attack again and again, killing my people with every stroke. They will lose all courage and stumble with fear. My slaughtering sword is waiting at every gate, flashing and ready to kill. It will slash right and left wherever the blade is pointed. Then I will stop being angry, and I will clap my hands in victory. I, the Lord, have spoken. The Lord said, Ezekiel, son of man, mark 2 roads for the king of Babylonia to follow when he comes with his sword. The roads will begin at the same place, but be sure to put up a signpost where the 2 roads separate and go in different directions. Clearly mark where the 2 roads lead. One goes to Rabbah, the capital of Ammon, and the other goes to Jerusalem, the fortified capital of Judah. When the Babylonian king stands at the signpost, he will decide which way to go by shaking his arrows, by asking his idols, and by carefully looking at the liver of a sacrificed animal. His right hand will pull out the arrow marked Jerusalem. Then he will immediately give the signal to shout the battle cry, to build dirt ramps up to the top of the city walls, to break down its walls and gates with large wooden poles, and to kill the people. Everyone in Jerusalem had promised to be loyal to Babylonia, and so none of them will believe that this could happen to them. But Babylonia's king will remind them of their sinful ways and warn them of their coming captivity. Ezekiel, tell the people of Jerusalem and their ruler that I, the Lord God, am saying, everything you do is wicked and shows how sinful you are. You are guilty, and you will be taken away as prisoners. And now you, evil and wicked ruler of Israel, your day of final judgment or final punishment is almost here. I, the Lord God, command you to take off your royal turban and your crown, because everything will be different. Those who had no power will be put in charge, and those who now rule will become nobodies. I will leave Jerusalem in complete ruins, like no one has ever seen, until my chosen one comes to punish this city. The Lord God said, Ezekiel, son of man, the Ammonites have insulted Israel, so condemn them and tell them that what I am saying. A sword is drawn, ready to slaughter. It is polished and prepared to kill as fast as lightning. You wicked Ammonites, see false visions and believe untrue messages, but your day of punishment is coming soon, and my sword will slaughter you. Your days to punish others are over, so put your swords away. You will be punished in the land of your birth. My furious anger will scorch you like fire, and I will hand you over to you cruel men who are experts at killing. You will be burned, and you will die in your own land. Then you will be forgotten forever. I, the Lord, have spoken. Just to kind of summarize something, with the Babylonians, God is telling Ezekiel that there's a fork in the road, and we all have forks in the road, choices to make. Are we going to go our way, or are we going to go God's way? That's our challenge today. When you face a fork in the road and the desire is yours, or you know that desire is different from God's, which way are you going to go? I hope it's God's. I love you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.